Today on Hatching for Health, we're going to be talking about a condition known as AICA Ribosiduria. And we have the mom and dad of their daughter Evelyn here.
As we were kind of going through those appointments, she actually started exhibiting what we now know were infantile spasms, which is a type of seizure, rare in itself.
Okay.
We thought it was strange baby behavior. We were like, what is she doing? She's doing this little baby crunch, and then she'd cry, and then she'd go to sleep. So we took a video of it. We sent it to our neurologist we saw the week before, and they're like, yeah, you need to go to the hospital. That's not a normal baby behavior.
Okay. Welcome to another episode of Hatching for Health. We are here to inspire hope, spotlight rare battles, and unite families. And today we have several very special guests with us, and we're going to be talking about a condition known as AICA Ribosiduria. And we have the mom and dad of their daughter Evelyn here, along with an RN from Texas Children's, byronae, and Aaron, a clinical dietitian. So mom and dad, we've got Alyson and Eastman. How are y'all?
Good, thank you for having us.
Yeah, and the both of you.
Hi.
Yeah, thank you all for coming out. And this is a great team. This is kind of the team that's making Evelyn's life better. And I think recognizing it, diagnosing it, and then treating it is what you guys are doing. And so that's going to help a lot of people as we hear your story today. So I know Evelyn didn't join us as it's kind of her school combination nap time, but so tell us, so she's 5 years old now. This diagnosis had come about when?
So around 7 months old, Evelyn's our first child, and she's our only child. So as new parents, we were like having no idea what was going on, as many new parents experience. But I had some inklings that maybe there were some delays happening, something just didn't seem right. She was thriving, she was growing, but just not at the rate that all the check marks and the milestones tell you she should be. So we went to our pediatrician and said, what do you think? Should we check some things out? So we set up some appointments just to see some specialists, make sure that, maybe this just was her path and she was going to, hit those milestones in her time. As we were kind of going through those appointments, she actually started exhibiting what we now know were infantile spasms, which is a type of seizure, rare in itself.
Okay.
We thought it was strange baby behavior. We were like, what is she doing? She's doing this little baby crunch, and then she'd cry, and then she'd go to sleep.
Because this is like 9 months.
No, around 9 months, right? 9-10 months.
Okay.
So we took a video of it. We sent it to our neurologist we saw the week before, and they're like, yeah, you need to go to the hospital. That's not a normal baby behavior.
Okay.
So we checked into Texas Children's and we're there for about 5 days. They ran a battery of tests, EEGs, MRIs, and what we were focusing on at that time was identifying the infantile spasms, which is that type of seizure. We needed those to stop so that her, everything could kind of calm down and we could get a better idea of what was causing those seizures.
Okay. And so the both of you, are y'all there staying with her overnight? Because I know EEGs are usually like a 24-hour period.
Yes.
So are y'all like all at the hospital? She's in one room being tested, not even 1 year old yet. What was that like for you guys at that time?
Well, for me, I would say it was a very challenging time. When she was having her spasms, as they were hooked up to the EEG, it was very important that you didn't touch her because they wanted to have a clean read of what was going on with her brain. So watching her have these seizures, but not being able to touch or comfort her was scary. Just seeing her in that space. And I'm somewhat familiar with the medical field. My brother's a doctor, my mom's a nurse as well. So that part wasn't foreign to me, but seeing my child like that was very overwhelming, very scary. I know Eastman was incredible with kind of keeping the ship going straight while I was kind of in choppy waters. So
we kind of early on we divided tasks. And it's like, okay, you're going to be keeping track of the appointments and what we're doing and that stuff, and I'm going to start reading all the medical jargon journal things that I can.
You guys quite a team there, yeah. Well, you guys, so mom here, you're a teacher at HISD, alumni of Texas Partners in Policy Making Program for Council of Developmental Diseases. So is that something that you took on the role of after knowing what's going on with your daughter?
Once Evelyn, I think we passed through the more acute stage of her care once we got her diagnosis and we
Which
had
we
the
got
plan.
through the genetics, by the way. We did
Correct.
some genetic screening early on.
Okay.
And that's what made it pop up, was on that side of things.
So about a month after her initial intake at Texas Children's, we realized the cause of her seizures, which was this very rare disorder of AICA Ribosiduria.
Okay.
So fast forward a few months where we worked with the team, which we'll talk to our fantastic team at Texas Children's about her journey to keto. But in between that, I realized, aside from being a role as a mother, I wanted to turn my focus to also be an advocate. You know, you have to be an advocate for your kids.
Yeah, of
But
course.
learning how to be an advocate in this new space outside of education, which is really my forte,
Yeah.
but understanding, okay, there's things I need to learn. There's language I need to learn how to speak, connections, and how to bring these resources to Evelyn or her to them.
Of course.
And that policymaking program through the Texas Council of Developmental Disabilities is a wonderful cohort to kind of give you a quick onboarding for, you know, the history of developmental
Yeah.
delays and where we are now.
Of course. And then I like how you guys divided responsibilities, because so you're a mechanical engineer from Rice University. So it sounds like a good direction for you to go in. Like, let me study all of this and kind of
Spreadsheets.
figure some of this
Yeah, I will
out.
say going through school, biology was definitely my least favorite of the sciences. So
Yeah.
it's kind of ironic that that's the thing
You're
I've
like,
had to learn the most
why?
of to support my daughter. But it's been fun to kind of read through all the medical stuff. And it's been nice to hear that some of the doctors are like, oh, you must be medical. So it's nice that I'm coming across as though I know what I'm talking about.
I know. Don't you love that? They're like, are you a doctor? Like, no.
No.
I don't not. So, byronae, you're an RN clinical nurse coordinator for what y'all call the keto program, or keto coordinator, I should say. And then Erin, you're a clinical dietitian there. So, I mean, I've heard a bit in their story how quickly this made a difference in their little girl's life. So just tell me a little bit about the program.
So our keto program is designed to basically be a treatment for patients that experience epilepsy or seizures. And epilepsy, it can be very mild for some, and then it can be very kind of problematic or just harmful for other patients. So the keto diet is basically a high-fat, low-carb diet that makes the body produce ketones, which are neuroprotective.
Okay.
And that will definitely help control seizure activity, and just sometimes it can even take away some of the medications that patients have to use. And we've seen that most patients have like a 50% decrease in their seizure activity if they are doing the diet, you know, the way it's prescribed and sticking to it.
Yeah.
So, but it's very beneficial for neurology.
Okay. And I'm assuming this is something that can help, you know, adults as well as it relates to the seizure aspect, because different people, experience these things later in life, you know, epilepsy, things that they maybe were not diagnosed as a child.
Yes.
And so as a clinical dietitian, are you putting together probably, you know, combined, but like the whole thing, it's like, this is what she needs to eat. This is what she needs to drink. This is what, you know.
Yeah, specifically with Evelyn's family, they came for a week-long admission where we start the diet in the hospital.
Okay.
And they were really great because they were good at recipe development on their own. So they really took a lead on that. So that was amazing. But yeah, we work with families and kind of tailor the diet to what they're kind of eating at home, just making a little bit of tweaks with how much fat we include, and obviously making sure the kid likes it and enjoys it, and it's not a stressful time at home when it comes to
because
eating.
it's like, you know, we want to run through a drive-through here and there. I mean, it's kind of like,
You can't on keto.
you know,
Yes.
we don't know what McDonald's is, you know, but so, okay, going back to the diagnosis name, I know it says caused by ATIC deficiency. So ATIC, is that an acronym for something?
Yes, it is. I don't know
Okay.
what it is off the top of my head,
Okay.
but that's the specific gene that
That
is
she's deficient of.
that is currently has mutated and doesn't work for Evelyn. And
Okay.
because of that, then it's producing less of what that protein that it produces, and that's the deficiency aspect.
And
of
that's
it.
causing it to get to the condition that she's been diagnosed with, the
Correct.
AICA.
And the place
Okay.
that we are right now with the condition, because there's so few children, there's only 8 known in the world right now that have it, that we don't know whether, the analogy I was always told is whether it's that it's a car on the highway that's just broken down and backing up traffic, or if it's like limping along, or if it's pulled all the way off the highway. So we don't necessarily know, is it because it's not finishing what it's supposed to do that's messing up things around it, or is it that we're not finishing making the thing that we need in the first place? So we're still very early on what it is, but that's what we're hoping to find out over the course of her life.
Of course. I mean, only 8, and again, that's been diagnosed. There are others out there that don't know, but it's such a serious, I mean, seizures with children, period. I mean, that's so scary. The fact that there's only this many diagnoses of it, it's, I'm really thankful and blessed that you guys are here talking about it, because more people need to know. I mean, this is an extremely rare condition, and probably one of the more rarest we've had on the show.
And the big thing with it is, infantile spasms is what the highlight was. A lot of different conditions can cause infantile spasms, but upon finding out what it was, she has this global developmental delay that we're working through, and we just don't know whether it's eventually plateauing or whether it's just a slower developmental. I mean, she's able to walk, which is outstanding. A lot of the documented cases aren't able to walk on their own. So there's really the spectrum when it comes to genetic disorders that you don't know how they're going to present themselves. And so, every day is a new day to kind of discover how
of
things
course.
work.
So from the, I guess, chromosome perspectives, do you guys know which chromosome either was segmented or maybe had a third? Do you know from that?
So Alyson had what's called a nonsensical protein that it didn't code correctly, but then I had this one that was K426R is the actual term for it. And that's the one that's been documented through all these other studies that many other cases have also had. So it's kind of the combination of R2 that didn't work together that causes this ATIC deficiency.
Okay. So it is something that it's carried through the genes. So
and you can't really, I mean, you could test for it, but it's so rare that you're not going to have it as part of a main panel. So we always, early on, we beat ourselves up, do we not do enough screening? Even if you'd screened with every single genetic screening out there, this still would have happened.
And did y'all personally do screenings? For your own DNA to see? Okay.
We did.
But this, again, wasn't one that they're like, no, that might do this,
Correct.
No, and prior to Evelyn, she was, we affectionately call her our version 4.0. We had some recurrent miscarriages prior to having a successful pregnancy with Evelyn. And that was an undiagnosed, just recurrent miscarriage, had no discernible reason. It just, they didn't quite, someone knew something more than I did, I guess, as we think.
Yeah.
But now knowing this diagnosis, that it could possibly be that those miscarriages were also attributed to, body just knowing that this wasn't going to work. But with Evelyn, it's incredible how it came to the other day when we were at one of our many appointments, and I'm like, I was running from work and I was picking her up from school and just kind of rushing, and we're getting blood work done. And I was just like, gosh, it's such an inconvenience, just running all these things. And I just look at her and she's like, you're like 5 and miraculous, and you have 200 appointments a year, and you've been poked and prodded, and you're smiling and watching Mickey Mouse Clubhouse and saying everybody's your friend. She does some sign language. And
oh my God, how precious.
So it's a humbling reminder that someone so small can be so incredibly inspiring.
Resilient. So, going back to the hospital, what all are you guys, I guess, seeing and treating? Because this is obviously so rare, and you guys are a team there. So I'm sure you guys have an array of different patients coming in with disorders, disabilities, things that you guys are treating with this keto diet. So is this like a full-time new patients coming in weekly?
So typically, we get referrals for patients to our keto program. You do have to be monitored when you are on the keto diet. It's not the same as, the keto diet outside of medical and outside of the hospital. When you go to the store, they have keto snacks and things like that. It's a little bit different when you're on the classical strict keto. So there's a lot of monitoring, you have to be referred. There's a lot of, screening, making sure that patients' bodies are able to, take the diet, because you don't want to put a patient at risk for any kind of cardiovascular issues if their body is not able to metabolize fats, because it is a high fat diet. It's just a lot of monitoring. Primarily we use it for epilepsy, but there probably are other illnesses out there that people use keto for. Our treatment is specifically for seizure control.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. We do have to take a quick commercial break, but I do want to get into the details with insurance and what's covered, what's not, because that's its own conversation. So we'll be right back with you after this quick commercial break. I mean, it really must take a team. I mean, this is a team, but you have the element of Rise, the school she's attending. I mean,
when she first came down with her infantile spasms, and we realized that this was going to be a journey that she was going to be going on for quite some time.
Welcome to Arabella Chiropractic, We are located right here in the heart of Houston, right down the street from Lakewood Church off 59 in Edlo. We welcome you to come visit us for any of your chiropractic or physical therapy needs. We have a licensed massage therapist on board, as well as a tech that's trained to do our ultrasound and stim with hot packs. We also offer physical therapy and, of course, the chiropractic visits where you can get adjusted and discuss any of those aches and pains to see how we can better help you feel better. Here at Arabella Chiropractic, we want your experience to be amazing. So come see us here at Arabella Chiropractic, where you can discover wellness through chiropractic excellence. Welcome back from the break. If you have just joined us, we're talking about a condition that there are only 8 known cases, and the little girl we're talking about was only the 2nd diagnosis globally, just a few short years ago. This is known as AICA Ribosiduria. Very, very rare condition. So before the break, I know that we were talking a little bit about with the keto diet, what's being implemented. And in addition to that, my question was, is insurance covering this? Is this something that they can come to Texas Children's Hospital to learn about the keto diet, get prescribed on it, and insurance is going to take care of me? Or is it something out of pocket? Yeah. So.
Yeah. Well, I can talk to that if you like.
Yeah, sure.
So with our plan, yes, it was covered. As this is a genetic condition, this is something that is not an optional or a preferential treatment.
Okay.
So this is something that is essential. We haven't really had trouble with insurance in regards to that. The part that isn't covered, which is not anywhere near as expensive as a 5-day stay at Texas Children's, but it would be the day-to-day, the food that she eats, because it's a clean diet. In regards, she can have almost anything, not lots of sugar, but she probably goes through 4 or 5 avocados a week, because that's one of her healthy fats.
Okay.
So you can't submit that to insurance. Saying,
you
hey,
cannot submit my HEB grocery bill to insurance as much as we should plant an avocado tree. But for some families where maybe this would be an amazing option, treatment for their child, if they're near a food desert, or it's just they don't have the team that we do to help guide that journey.
Of course,
that can be a challenge.
So byronae, you had mentioned before the break about, there's an array of patients that can come to you guys, benefit from a keto diet, but epilepsy is the main condition kind of being referred to y'all's group.
Yes.
Right?
That's correct.
Okay. And Erin, so talk just briefly a little bit about kind of, the flow of those patients coming in and kind of the work that you do with them.
Yeah. So we usually see families for an initial consultation. They come in for an appointment. We get a good diet history of kind of what they're doing at home already, and just basically look to see if they're an ideal candidate for the diet.
Yeah.
At that point, they will come in for an admission to the hospital where we start the diet, because we monitor labs every day. We want to make sure that they feel comfortable going home and doing this diet at home. So we'll do a lot of teaching. Byronae will do a lot of teaching to talk about sick day guidelines. What do they do if they can't tolerate their food one day?
Very hands-on.
You were our onboarding dietitian.
Yeah.
I still have your card
a full
in my
circle
binder.
moment.
I love it. No, it's great.
But it's things that you don't maybe think about as a parent. If she has a cold and needs to take Tylenol, she can't have suspension liquid. She has to have, it's like a unicorn, the uncoated, Tylenol caplet that you cut in 4 pieces and mash it up in a mortar and pestle, then you put it in some water and you give her 5 grams.
It's like, it really must take a team. This is a team, but you have the element of Rise, the school she's attending. You're not there with her little kids are picking up goldfish and things like that.
It's true.
Everybody's got to be watching her, right?
It's true. So when she first came down with her infantile spasms, and we realized that this was going to be a journey that she was going to be going on for quite some time. We were so fortunate to find the Rise School of Houston, which has a very special relationship with Texas Children's, in that their mission is to educate all children of any abilities. So they have in each classroom a mixture of typically developing children and kids who are on a different path, we like to say. So Evelyn, with her developmental delays and epilepsy and Down syndrome, it's a wonderful environment of learning. But they also have a full-time nurse. So when we first started, when Evelyn, we realized her diagnosis and we were trying to figure out how to get these seizures to stop, we really didn't first start with keto. We started with a different different types of medications. When we went to keto, we had to have the whole team come together and say, okay, this is what this looks like. This is what happens if she eats some goldfish. There's some butter. Like give her the butter.
Her rescue medication is butter,
Is a
like
stick
to
of
balance out the fat ratio.
I know some of what I've read with, the medications that, the initial diagnosis and her having to go in and get, a various amount of shots. And there was really nothing diet related just yet. It was just like, this is what we think can help. I mean, with such a small amount of diagnosed cases, it's like they're kind of an experimental stage, really. And so how long did y'all actually have shots and medications being kind of poured into her?
So the primary focus was to get the seizures to stop. So that was a series of hormone shots, essentially.
ACTH is
for about 6 weeks, and then followed up with a maintenance medication. And she kept relapsing. She would go for 3 or 4 months and then have some seizures again. So we went through about 3 or 4 different, what they call plans of care. And our neurologist from this jump was like, keto might be really good. Her genetic condition is metabolic. This is metabolic. Like this could be a great fit. And I remember I was very resistant because, my family and Eastman's family, food is really a big connection with us. Having dinner together, making family dishes that, our grandparents made. And so I was very hesitant to kind of go into that realm. And I didn't want her to grow up with that relationship with food that was very measured and a lot of no. So when we came to this impasse of, we've really run the gamut of what we can do pharmaceutically. Let's see how she does on keto. And we haven't looked back. Like she hasn't had a seizure in over 2 years.
What was the timeline from, initiating that program for her to where y'all could actually see the full effect that this is working?
Oh, it was a couple of months. Maybe
really?
2.
Yeah, a couple months.
It was what I would consider immediate.
Really?
We were weaning off of the one medication. And so upon that weaning out and then the keto diet kind of weaning in, we just kind of saw, I don't know, I would say our daughter for the first time, but we just kind of seemed like she was coming into her own because it was less, I guess, intense stuff. It was just like, oh, here's my food and here's this new way that my body's
smiling
processing.
And laughing. And it was like a cloudy day and you could see the sun kind of break through. And she had those moments of sunshine prior to keto, but then it was just like the clouds went away and she was just full tilt Evelyn.
It was, full force. She's like, here she comes. So I read too that half the children who go to keto are having reduced seizures. So this all makes a lot of sense. And even the Epilepsy Foundation said that 10 to 15% of children become seizure-free. Y'all, there's a foundation that you guys work a lot with. What is the name of that?
Yeah, so the Charlie Foundation is actually this website that has a lot of documented cases for using the keto diet to help with seizures, but also it has a bunch of resources on there for people that are trying to get into it. And they have this one program that Texas Children's introduced it to. It's called the Keto Diet Calculator. And you can go in there and type in all the foods to make sure it's in the right ratio. So just to be very clear, like for the keto diet, we're measuring to the gram all of her carbs and proteins and fats to make sure it's at a certain ratio. Versus a 2 fat to every 1 gram, or every 1 calorie rather, of proteins and carbs. So every meal, every snack, we're measuring that out. And at first it was a
very
hassle. And we're like, how are we gonna do this? But then you kind of get into a rhythm. And also sometimes you get the small excitement of like, yes, I hit 29 grams exactly.
Exactly.
Like, one scoop and I hit it. And like, we'll yell like, I did it again. So it's, so like little things like that that keep us going.
Fitness competitors, like when they're, doing
exactly.
And getting in contact with you guys, is there like a direct department at Texas Children's that they can find y'all at, or do they have to kind of, go to their primary care, or how do they make that connection?
We require that they're referred by an epileptologist, which is a doctor that specializes specifically in epilepsy.
Okay.
Because we really try to offer the keto diet in our program to patients that really, really need it.
Yeah.
If we could take everybody, we would, but, we try to get those children that are on multiple medications, that have had seizures, that just keep happening despite all the treatment. So we are in the neurology department, we can take referrals, but again, we will do a lot of note checking and kind of looking at histories to make sure that it's appropriate for the patients we take.
Okay, makes a lot of sense. And with the different doctors that Evelyn sees, like, what does a typical month look like for her?
Even though she's 5, developmentally she's maybe more like 1.5, 2. So we're working on that emerging language, and so she goes to speech twice a week. She goes to Texas Children's for occupational and physical therapy. We see our specialists kind of like on a rotation every 4 months. We'll kind of check in with, she wears glasses, so her ophthalmologist and then our neurologist and a lot of ISTs that we see.
Yeah.
What I love about Texas Children's And what I would, advice I would give to parents, if you can, it's such a holistic view. And that's, I think, what Evelyn needs, what I think we all need with healthcare is while you have specialists, which is great, they're trained just to look at that one thing that they're really good at. But if you're able to get into a system where they do work together, like our physical therapist checks, her chart when she goes to neurology and says, "Oh, I see you guys did this in with nutrition today. So let's figure out how we can, if we're going to get her to really work on her mobility, that's going to increase her calories. So how can we get the snack to match?" And so having those conversations and those overlapping points of view, I think just creates such a more profound impact on Evelyn and her healthcare journey.
Of course. And you guys have a website, or is it part of the actual AICA, or is it y'all's website?
Yeah, so I just made a website because there's so few people out there that have it. So just kind of be like, if people search Google, they'll find it. So yeah, AICgene.org is kind of one that I made.
Okay.
I will say I haven't updated as often as I want to, but it's at least a place.
She keeps us busy.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you guys do respond if you get an inquiry?
Yes,
Okay.
and we've gotten a couple pings through the years, which has been
okay.
nice.
And just to wrap up, is there any advice that either of you have, and then I want to ask of that from y'all too, just for families that, and maybe it's not this diagnosis, but it's something at such a young age that they're learning of, and just kind of advice and, what direction to go.
For me, I think two things. One would be to trust your instincts. If you just to look into something, you're not crazy, just rule it out. But two, to learn how to be an advocate. It does come naturally, but learning how to, bring people together and kind of make time to pause and say, okay, I know everyone in here is busy, but let's look at Evelyn. Let's humanize it a little bit, see her as a little girl, and not just your appointment at 1:30 or your next case to intake. And we're very fortunate in that. But just to be that advocate, to slow down,
of course,
to be present in that, and to ask questions, and don't leave until you understand the answers.
So you took mine. That's what mine was going to be.
Go ahead.
Mine was going to be to ask questions. Because if you don't
continue
understand something, you're not going to understand the medical jargon. And if they say a word that you don't know, ask, hey, what does that word mean? Can you describe that to me? Because sometimes the day-to-day at the hospital, they're just talking in medical lingo, and asking them to slow down and say, hey, what does that mean? Or what? Yeah, it helps to ask those questions.
I think that's great advice. And from your team, there are Texas Children's, just some advice on the array of families that you're seeing and those watching.
I definitely would say be an advocate, just like Mrs. Landry stated, because that is very important. You want to just make sure that you are speaking up when you notice things about your child. And then two, I feel like some parents are a little weary about starting the ketogenic diet just because it is very strict. It is going to be like a change of lifestyle for the entire family, possibly. So I just say just try it. Just give it a try. And if you do it a couple months and you feel like it's definitely not helping, then you can stop it. But try it before you just kind of exclude it. And then also try to incorporate everything as a family if you can. Just so everybody can kind of, have a positive outcome.
For sure. I appreciate it. Do you have anything else to add?
I would just say, with our families, I think we really just encourage them to always reach out to us or work with us to help with meal development. I know that can be super stressful time at home, trying to decide what we're going to have for dinner one night. So I think just working with us and keeping good communication.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys all for being so vulnerable, sharing this information. And your website again for them to get in touch with you.
AICgene.org.
Okay. Awesome. Well,
Thank you so much.
And thank you all for tuning in to another episode of Hatching for Health. We hope that you learned something and that you can share it with someone else. We will be right back here next Saturday.